Hey guys, Becker here. So today on the Coronavirus Music School, we're going to be talking about keys and chords and scales and how those are all related and how those all help us out in understanding the music that we hear and love. And most of what we're going to be talking about today is, ultimately comes from the early 18th century. So this is not new information. There's already a bunch of stuff on the internet, but I just sort of wanted to make it as simple as we can. So first things first. We realize that pitch does not act the way that we think it should. What I mean by that is that when we have two numbers or three numbers, we say 2 and 9 and 10, and we say, well, is 9 closer to 10 than it is to 2? We say, well, yeah, of course, that we can just imagine we can imagine a number line, and we see 2 right here, and we see 9 here, and we see 10 here. The way that numbers work is that proximity indicates that they're close. Well, with pitch, it doesn't exactly work that same way, and that what we see is that with pitches that are close to each other in frequencies often don't sound good when we play them together. So the way that we resolve this is looking at it not in terms of how close the frequencies are, but how close the frequencies are on what's known as a circle of fifths. And so here we see the circle of fifths, and it's the best way we have to arrange these pitches and arrange this information where it makes the most sense, where we can talk about it. If two notes are close on the circle of fifths, that means when we play them together, they generally sound consonant and pleasing. If we have two notes that are far away, like say a G and a B at the same time, or C and a G flat at the same time, then those notes we can, on average say are going to be a more complex relationship and be more difficult to hear. The other thing that's really neat about this is that, say we're playing in the key of C major, well, here are all the notes in C major, right? And then we just choose those 7 and we delete these 5 over here. When we play in the key of G major, we see all of the notes of the key of G major. Here's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7. This would be spelled as an F sharp, but it's the same. It's enharmonic with the note G flat. And then we can do this with any key. Here's the key of D major. So here's the 1, and the 2, and the 3. It's enharmonic. 4, 5, 6, and then 7. We use the circle of fifths to see which notes are close or more distantly related, and if they're because it's more distantly related by counting how many perfect fifths away is some note to some other note. So this gives us a really good idea of how the different keys are related to each other and how close or far they are, and that's basically how many notes they have in common and which ones and how important they are. Let's get into how the keys work in themselves. So for the key of C major, we have 7 pitch classes: C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And then we notice the intervals between them. So there's a whole step between C and D, and a whole step here, half step here, whole step, whole step, whole step, and then a half step between B and C. So then what we're going to do is that we're going to build what are known as tertian triads, right? We're going to build up in thirds. So basically I'm going to write the same sequence of letters because we're restricting our use to just these 7 letters. We're going to build them in thirds. So the next one is we're going to have the same sequence of letters, but just offset here. C, F, G, A, B, C, and D, right? And so this is going to give us the thirds of each one of these chords, right? It's a third interval up, and so it's a third. And then we're going to do this process again, only starting on the 5th, right? So G, A, B, C, D, E, and F, right? So this gives us the 7 diatonic triads, in the key of C major. And so that generally these get represented using Roman numerals. This is C, E, and G makes a major triad, so we're going to give that an uppercase Roman numeral. DFA makes a minor triad, so that gets a Roman lowercase numeral. 3 is also minor. 4 is major. 5 is major. 6 is minor. And then 7 is diminished. So here are all the chords in the key of C major, right? Here's the one chord. It has a quality that is major. It's a major triad, has a major third and then a minor third above that. Scale degree 2 is a minor triad. It has a minor third and then a major third on top. Scale degree 3 is also minor. Scale degree 4 has a major triad. Scale degree 5 has another major triad. Scale degree 6 is a minor triad. And then scale degree 7 is this diminished triad that we see. It has a minor third and then another minor third. And if we were to play in the key of G major, well, we'd have to include the F sharp and omit the F, like we were playing in C major. But the qualities of the chords, 1 is major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, and then 7 is diminished before we get back to the 1. All the complexity that we run into with the naming of the different notes, where the notes have sharps and flats and multiple names, all of that is designed for one purpose, and that is to make music that is in these major or minor keys as easy as possible to play and to read. That's the whole thing, to make sure all of the intervals stay the same and that the relationships between the notes and the qualities of the chords remain constant, and that we can do all of that using one simple system. And so that's what that does. This is the circle of fifths, only it's been modified to include the key signature for each one of these different keys as we go around. And it gives you a little primer at the bottom to tell you which. So the key of G major is that we're going to apply 1 sharp, which means the F is going to be sharped. So instead of F natural, we're going to get F sharp. The key of D major has 2 sharps, so we're going to have an F sharp and a C sharp. The key of A major, we're going to have it has 3 sharps, so it has an F sharp and a C sharp and a G sharp, and so on and so forth in the order here that we see at the bottom. The flats get applied in the opposite order. So if we have 1 flat, like for the key of F major, is that we have a B, and then for the key of B flat, we have both a B flat and then an E flat. So for the key of E flat, we have a B flat, an E flat, and A flat, so on and so forth, until we get down here to the bottom in the key of G flat, that where everything except for the note F, we have 6 flats. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flats, and that's as far as we need to go. So that wraps up our treatment of keys and chords and scales, and I hope you found it useful. There's a bunch of other stuff on the internet about this very topic, because this is, some of the most important information about music that we have and we know about. Once we start moving into the 19th century and then into the 20th century, this stops being the only game in town, but it still retains its importance just because of, it's where all this music has come from. So I guess stay safe, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time.